Hey there, welcome to yet another episode of Coffee Solo for this June 16, 2025, first episode of the day. We're recording it just after midnight. I got 12:12 in the morning. I've had a couple of cups of coffee, which will make my voice a little bit different, but the nasal fresh is helping me out quite a bit, so my voice is feeling a little bit better through the day. I've mentioned this in previous episodes, and I still have my affiliate link in the links section for this episode, which hopefully you're finding on the ko-fi.com/danhugo/posts page. That's where you'll find it whenever it gets published. The title is left blank at the moment. I've said this before. I would like this to be, because I normally write my shows out ahead of time. So I basically construct an outline and I read some of the items because I write them because I have a particular point to make or I want to include a particular detail. And then I kind of ad lib between and, because I'm writing it myself, so I know what I want to say. And I often get ahead of myself. So I'll read something and then I'll continue a thought. And then I already wrote that also, one or two bullet items later. So in this case, I have an outline of a few things. I don't have a summary and I don't have a title. And those are really for the when they're published on ko-fi.com. I do the same with Buy Me an Update. So even though Buy Me an Update is not really a standalone episode, it's a review of previous, the week previous and whatnot. I still give it a title because it has to say something interesting, right? So I try to do that. I can already feel my voice. I have the remains of the final cup of coffee that I made. So I can feel that the coffee has had some effect. So, sorry. But I'll do the nasal fresh in the morning and we'll see how things go. There you go. So a reminder, my links, again, visible for this episode on the posts page, buymeacoffee.com/danhugo and buymeacoffee.com/danhugo/posts to locate the Buy Me an Update weekly program. I just recorded that one about 2 hours ago to publish on Monday morning. The quick rundown. And then my Nasal Fresh MD affiliate link if you're interested in clearing out your sinuses. I've come across people that have the same problem. A lot of people use the neti pot. I used to use a neti pot to varying degrees of success. It is drastically different. Neti pot and similar products are gravity fed. So you tilt your head and you pour the water into your sinuses and all that. The Nasal Fresh pumps water and then draws it out. So it pumps it up one nostril, draws it out the other. You flip the thing over, do it in the other order. And I found it to be quite effective. So I'm passing that along. This is not a paid advertisement, but the affiliate link would kick back some money to me. So that's always nice. I can already hear my neighbor continuing his whatever he's doing up there. Apparently he's practicing to be in a parade, heavy stepping or something. Sometimes it sounds like body throws, like wrestling. Sometimes it sounds like he's building something. I met him when he moved in, so I know it's a him. That's about all I know. And he has no sense of decency when it comes to living around other people. So it's always fun. So first of all, my right leg, really my right ankle at this point, it's gotten a lot better. It's improving generally day by day, day over day, I guess. Though I'm discovering that every day being a leg day, it's still, I walk carefully. I have a cane that I happen to have found. I usually go walking every day just to get out of the house. And, if I go to the gym when I can, but I try to at least get outside during the day, get a little vitamin D, get a little walk. Usually walk about 3 miles. My left knee, of course, as I will tell you later, my birthday is coming up. So these things happen. So my left knee was bothering me and it was pretty bad. This was probably 6 months ago. And I came upon a metal cane, adjustable height, metal cane in great condition. The little rubber thing that comes into contact with a floor or the street looked brand new. The handle looked brand new, but it was leaning against a dumpster by a restaurant. And I was like, this must be for me. So I grabbed it and I think I used it I don't think I actually used it outside. Yeah, I didn't actually put it into service. My knee has been variously improving, or sometimes it's a little bit sensitive. Taking stairs and stuff is a little tricky, but I'm trying to get that back into like normal use. So but anyway, so I had the cane already. So for the first week, and if my math is correct, tomorrow morning, Tuesday the 17th, will be 3 weeks, 7 in the morning, since the actual incident. What did I call it? A mishap. Yeah, I had a mishap. 4 steps, not 3. So it'll be 3 weeks. So the first week, definitely, the cane was an essential. So I'm like, I'm glad I have this. At this point, I pretty much carry the cane just in case. And if my leg gets tired, I put it down on the ground and put it to use. So if I walk across a street to go to the grocery store, or sometimes just my leg is tired, right? It's like doing a leg workout. So it gets a little tired. I don't want to lose my balance, so it's good. But anyway, so it's getting a lot better, and I just have to back off a little bit. I was getting a little excited, like, I can walk again, yay! And then my leg said, "Whoa, slow it down, buddy." So, in case you're wondering, that's where that is. AI code is going to be a problem. Just to get off the subject of my leg, I was just watching a Primeagen video. I'm kind of, I don't know if you know Primeagen. If you're not a computer nerd, then you probably don't. He's basically a Twitch streamer, and then I tend to watch him more on YouTube when they republish there. I think he's based in North Dakota. No, he's in Montana. I think he's in Montana. Seems pretty knowledgeable. He used to work for Netflix. Now I think he's doing some sort of a startup. Pretty interesting backstory and whatnot. I tend to agree with a lot of what he says. He's been around for a little while. And so he is of the opinion, and I agree. If you don't already know how something works, like if you don't know how to write, if you don't know how to speak a particular language, if you don't know how to write code, the list goes on. If you don't know how to write a legal brief, and you have some chat client, ChatGPT or what are some of them now? Well, there's DeepSeek, but Claude, I don't even know. There's so many different names. Llama. So if you have an AI tool generate something for you, okay, great. You solved the problem now, but you didn't necessarily learn anything. And I've had young coders tell me, "Oh, no, I learned how to do this. I learned how to do that." And I said, right. You learn what the chat client shows you. So I went through, I said, "Tell me a language you don't know." Okay, C. And I had some sample code, and I said, okay, so if it spits out angle brackets or quotes for the include lines, or if it does this, so I started pulling out some stuff from just a little segment. It was actually Towers of Hanoi sample code to demonstrate iteration, or recursion. And I said, if it just spits out code, it's not going to tell you why. I mean, I guess the reasoning stuff could explain some things, but you're generally being told, here's what I'm doing, not here's why you should do this, so you learn something. So the big problem, and this is where Prime and I agree, he agrees with me, I guess, and the hype is about these two things. Junior coders are going to be left out. And as Prime and I have agreed also, I'm kind of confusing the issue. So the first thing we agree on is, if you don't already know how to code, if you don't already know how to do whatever it is you're having the chat or the AI model do for you, you're not going to learn. You're not going to improve your skills as much as you would by doing it yourself, or by doing the reading, doing the actual like climbing of the hill. Now, some people would argue, I don't learn like that. But the fact is, if you don't know how to do something and you learn how to do it, then you've learned how to do it. If you don't know how to do something and you have someone else or something else do it for you, and then you watch, that's okay, but you should then take that ball and run with it. But I think a lot of people say, okay, I don't have to deal with that, on to the next thing. So the first thing is, the junior coders, if they are replaced in the coding example, then the work of reviewing the AI generated code and whatnot goes to the senior coders. So the people that have been around for a while are going to become code review people not problem solvers. They'll be problem solving for automatically generated problems. So your senior coders are now doing review on code that the junior coder should have been learning from. So I think the value proposition gets a little broken there. And then who knows what the AI is spitting out. And then second, and this also I think I've heard Prime say, we're going to repeat the COBOL problem, except many times worse. What is the COBOL problem? The COBOL problem is, hey, everybody's writing code in COBOL. And then suddenly, nobody's writing code in COBOL anymore. Let's stop teaching it and we'll direct people towards Pascal or BASIC or C. Eventually C kind of took over for a while, C++, C#, Java, Python, et cetera, et cetera. So COBOL sort of fell off the radar screen completely, except there's a ton of code that's critical that is written in COBOL out in the world from when it was popular. So now, when you stop teaching people or emphasizing COBOL, the pipeline of people learning the language and putting it to use and so on stops. So now you just have an aging population with the skills that you need to maintain and repair in case there's a problem, which has happened during the pandemic. Everybody learned what COBOL was again. So you stop the pipeline, but you don't remove the necessity. So here, if you have a bunch of people that say, oh, I don't have to learn how to write code anymore, I can just have the AI do it. And then you have a bunch of senior coders saying, this is not good. This is still broken, but there's no junior coder to have a conversation with. You just have to fix it or tell the AI to fix it or whatever. Who knows? Who knows what will turn into, what workflow will come from all this. But over time, the senior coders will say, okay, I'm retiring. I've had enough of this silliness. I'm getting too old for this. And so now what? Now you have an AI that will do the work and nobody will know what it's doing. And I liken this, whenever I talk about this, I always talk about the Morlocks and the Eloi, if you're a fan of the Time Machine. So eventually there will be people lounging around, oh, I don't know how to code. And somebody else will say, I don't even know how to write. I don't even know how to create letters on a piece of paper. And somebody else will say, what's paper? And then someone else will say, what's letters? So as we hand off this learning process to artificial intelligence, machines, yeah, who's going to know how stuff works? Except for the Morlocks, who will be down there saying, who do we want for lunch? So I know that's sort of a doomsaying right now, but I have concerns because, again, I think the COBOL scenario, COBOL, if you want to look it up, COBOL, Common Business-Oriented Language, the COBOL scenario will just simply replay tens, hundreds, thousands of times worse, and no one will know how anything functions. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. I'm not giving up on programming just yet, even though people are now saying, oh, don't get a CS degree, computer science. Get a degree in prompt engineering, which is dumb. Hopefully that's a flash in the pan that will go away. I think reality is setting in along those lines. Anyway, speaking of noisy upstairs neighbor, I discovered the other day, I was like, I wonder if I can get something that will thump on the ceiling automatically. I'm not talking about like walking on the ceiling. I'm almost talking like, do you know the hammers in a piano or the hammers in a harpsichord or they're hammers and they hit the strings in these instruments. So I'm like, it'd be cool if there was something similar that would play my ceiling. So it just, so it could be annoying without damaging. Like I don't want to pound on my ceiling with a mallet, things like this. So I want it to be just annoying enough, repetitive, just loud enough so that it doesn't bother my silent neighbors to either side. So just tapping on the ceiling. So I did a quick search on the internets, and there is a thing called a ceiling thumper. Ceiling thumper. It's designed to annoy your upstairs neighbors. That is a purpose-built device. It literally wedges between your floor and your ceiling with some sort of a contraption on the ceiling side, so it's pressed against the ceiling, and then you can program it to do a certain amplitude and frequency. And so then if you look on Reddit, you'll find people that are the victims of this, and they're like, oh, my downstairs neighbor got one of these thumper things and it makes my whole floor vibrate, and they're, oh, just take a bowl of water and put it on the floor and you'll see the vibration in the water, and you can catch a video and then make a complaint and all that. So it becomes this little war between upstairs and downstairs. So I'm really hoping that my upstairs neighbors will catch a clue. I'm starting to record the particularly annoying noises. It was about an hour ago. I called to make a noise complaint, suddenly becoming musical in the wee hours. I like when people play musical instruments, just not, after midnight. And the same chord, by the way, it was, in case you're wondering, the same keyboard chord or bars, I guess not chords, the same harmony. So he was playing, or he or whoever is up there was playing, "Do You Think We're Better Off Alone?" The harmony, I'm sorry, the melody part. It's not the harmony. It's not the melody. It's the harmony part. So over and over again for an hour. A song I will not soon forget, I suppose. So I'm sure during the day, because this person enjoys dropping heavy things, I've likened it to some sort of body throws in a wrestling match, perhaps. Sometimes it's a construction of things, so it's hammering or banging on things, like he's assembling a table or a who knows what. Sometimes it's some sort of a concrete basketball game where the ball is made of something heavy. So yeah, it's just getting annoying. And I can, without making any adjustments, I can record these antics with the very microphone I'm speaking into now. I don't change the gain. I don't change anything. I don't reorient the microphone, so it just picks it up. So at some point, my audio programs may include various unwanted percussion, I suppose. It gets a little old, so I don't want to get a thumper. I want to solve problem and antics. Speaking of antics, my Amazon Vine antics continue. I've talked about this in previous episodes. Amazon Vine is a service or a feature. You sign up for it. I had reviewed many things as a customer of Amazon over the years, and suddenly I get this email, "Hey, do you want to be an Amazon Vine?" Production by a street. So that was legitimate street noise. So you get to order products from a list. So products that are available for review for the Amazon Vine Vine member. I'm a silver member, so I can order up to 3 items per day, and they're valued at $99 or less than $100. And once I review 80%, what is it? 80% of, I have to get over a certain number, and then, which I've done, and then I have to review 80% of the items that I have, and then I will be elevated to gold status, which is up to 8 items per day that I can order, and they can be valued anything $100 above or below, whatever. So I have reviewed 75 items since becoming a Vine member. So 75 Vine items. And I still have another 60 to review to clear out my queue. So 80% of what is essentially 135 would be 104. Am I doing that correctly? 8.8 times 135. Yeah, whatever. It's going to be something like 100 and a little over 100, under 110, but somewhere in there. Some of the items that are for review are not actually available at Amazon anymore. A couple of them I've not received yet. A couple of them, one that was supposed to be delivered Friday and then Sunday is still not delivered, so it's probably going to get removed. So every once in a while I have to update the queue. I contact support. I tell them, this item never got delivered. Oh, okay, we will remove it from your list of things to review. So there is that like human last mile, which is kind of annoying. By the way, if you're curious, part of the signing up for the Amazon Vine membership, you provide them your tax ID, and I will get an invoice at the end of I guess, I don't know when the fiscal year is, but I'll get a tax 1099 at some point for the value of the items, which I would be expected to pay taxes on. So even though they're free, they are considered payment for services. So anyway, I'm currently suspended again. This is the second time, because you have to always have 60% of your total items reviewed. Not always, but every once in a while they say, "Hey, you're falling behind and you have 2 weeks to catch up. Otherwise you can be ejected." So I think I said this already. Did I say it already? I need to review 7 items. You can do the math. So I have 75 reviewed, 60 left to review. So I need to have that ratio be 60%. So I think I need 80, 81 or 82, something like that. So I need to review 6 or 7. I think I figured, okay, I'll go for 8. So I need to review 8 items in the next couple of days, which I already started doing. The fun part is I do write reviews, so I don't just fake it. The whole reason I signed up for this is to try products. So I take it somewhat seriously. The weird thing about this Amazon feature, by the way, it's been interesting to experience. So I have received, and again, there are a few items that I have not yet received, but so 135. Most of these, the vast majority, have been sent as individual packages. Just think about that for a moment. I only signed up almost 3 months ago now. So essentially almost an average of 1 package per day. Now, occasionally I've received like 2, 3, 4 in one day, but they're individual packages. So it just makes me laugh. I have experienced the full range of customer service. It's been mostly good, but occasionally remarkably frustrating and sort of disheartening that, Amazon is completely and totally shitified at this point, right? There's no question they are not looking out for the customer no matter what platitudes they throw at you. But okay, so they pretend they are. The delivery chaos, I've had a variety of head shakers, I guess. Yeah. Shaking my head. Yikes. And the product quality has been all over the map. Now, because I get to select the things, I try to find something that looks like I would use it. So I got my 3rd hand grinder for coffee. I have a weird sort of modern take on a mocha pot, which I have not used it yet. I took it out of the box and kind of gave it the once over. Not a fan. The classic mocha pot, aside from the fact that you can't easily use it on an inductive cooktop, you can get around that. So, this one, you can use it on a cooktop or a flame or an electric element. Okay. It's not as good. The lid, not as solid, not as good. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But I mean, it could be a 4-star thing. It's not awful, but there have been some other things that I've gotten. I'm like, that I could use that, whatever it is. And I receive it and I assemble it, or I take it out of the box and I look over it, or I plug it in, or whatever it is. I'm like, this is garbage. And I think I've given a couple of items like 2 stars, a few 3 stars, and then 4 stars if it's a good value, not great. So for 5 stars, it needs to actually be a great value. It needs to actually be worth it and do something useful. So I take it seriously, and it's been educational. So I'm continuing to do it. I don't want to be suspended. So, yeah, it's been. Oh, I will say, I would never have tried what's called a diatomaceous clay drying mat. So diatomaceous earth, if you look that up, for example, it's a way to combat bed bugs. So diatomaceous earth will suck up moisture very quickly, sort of like silica gel you find in the desiccant packets that ship with things to keep moisture, to collect moisture. So diatomaceous earth is natural. Sometimes it's called diatomaceous clay, and it will soak up 10 times its weight in water, and then it will evaporate slowly. So you won't have puddles of water. So I got this mat. It's 22 inches by 16 inches. And it has like planks of this diatomaceous clay with a plastic backing. So it kind of rolls up. So it's like a plastic sheet that connects them all together. And you end up with a little, welcome mat. So I put it on half of my bathroom vanity. It's pretty cool. So that one gets 5 stars. Like, this is actually pretty neat. Like, no more, if you have a razor or my nasal fresh or anything where there's going to be water, moisture, you can lay it on this thing. You just set it down and it will soak up any moisture immediately. And then that's it. So no puddles on your bathroom counter. So I'm a fan. So I never would have tried this had I not received it for free. I think it's like $30. So yeah, it's been very educational. Now we can get to the thing that everybody's talking about. The collective action on Saturday, the 14th, the No King's Day, I think it is. I think it was, I thought it was No King Day, but I think it's No Kings, plural. I think it's nokings.org. I did an episode of FFS Talk on Thursday about this. No. Yeah, Thursday last week. The title is Collective Action. And of course, there were some incidents of violence. A couple of people drove cars into crowds, and there are and were anecdotes and videos even about law enforcement escalations. One, I think it was in LA, where mounted police on horseback were engaging what appears to be a peaceful activity, no particular drama, and they engage people on horseback, and then they were striking them with wooden batons. That seems problematic. It doesn't look great for the police in that case. There are some other antics going on with the deployed National Guard, and the Marines are now, I guess they're completing their training and are now being deployed on the streets of LA. And then there were cars driving into people in, was it Chicago and somewhere else? And then there were some shootings in Utah. I'm sure we'll hear about more. The news, the media, the mainstream media and YouTubers, everybody has been concentrating on crowd size, which I think is problematic, because you really just reinforce this notion that you have to get a huge group of people together to send a message. But that huge group of people is kind of approaching a critical mass where you're going to end up with bad actors and counter protests and violence potential, and looting and riots might erupt. And then it's difficult to keep track because there's so much going on. So many people can arrive thinking, I'm just going to be a peaceful protester. I got my cool, funny sign and, my t-shirt and whatever. And then you end up getting swept up into like somebody next to you gets hit by a baton by a horse-mounted police. And you're like, hey, and then who knows what's going to happen. So I'm really a fan of trying to factor huge protests into little protest, what did I call it? Clusters. Sometimes people use cluster in a derogatory way, but also you could say protest cells. But that's where terrorists have organized their groups so that they're independent. So that also may be used poorly. But essentially, instead of having 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people gathering, and here in Vegas, there were on the news. There were news stories on Thursday and Friday ahead of the weekend. Downtown businesses putting up wood to cover their windows, concerned about potential vandalism and so on. It's like, that's unfortunate that you are now impacting people who just want to do their business. So in my view, the cluster approach or the factored approach, you would have groups of 2 to 10 people, spread them out over a huge area. So now you're not taking up blocking. In fact, there were detour notices, there were bus schedule route changes in advance of the planned chaos, right? So in Vegas, there are my bus, the bus I usually take goes through there. There's probably like 10 bus routes that would have been affected by a downtown, because everybody's going to be on Fremont. If you don't know the downtown Vegas area, Fremont is where the casinos are, the old downtown. So just the fact that it's going to be that disruptive is a negative. It tells people those protesters are causing me difficulty. And it's sort of unnecessary conflict, I think. So I think an interesting strategy to explore is not the status quo, but actually factoring a protest into small groups that can be spread out over a huge area. They can move around more quickly, more easily. If somebody's going to vandalize something, it's like, it's one of those 10 people over there. It's not one of 10,000, and it doesn't spread. You don't get, sort of groupthink escalation and so on. So I'm just sort of, that I describe that in that episode. And also the notion of, so if your phone can be tracked, fun fact, it can be. So if an agency said, I want to find all the phones for all the people that were in that crowd of 10,000 people that caused all this problem, all these problems, you are a potential suspect in vandalism or looting or riots or whatever. So you've put yourself on the scene, and you'll be swept up, or you could be swept up as just a member of the crowd. If you're a member of a cluster of 10 people, you got your signs, your t-shirts, you're spreading the word, you're putting up some postering or whatever. You are not part of a 10,000 person crowd that's, wilding, breaking windows and so on. So again, you probably know the other people in your cluster, so nobody's going to say, oh, I didn't know who that was that broke the window. You're going to all say that guy or that person is not in our group. They're getting violent. We're not a part of that. So to me, it just makes sense. And this occurred to me the other day. I think Ukraine, they've been masterful at their guerrilla operations. They don't have much, but they are behaving as though they want to keep everything that they have. More power to them. So they're coming up with definitely some new tactics, some new ways of doing things outside of the box thinking. I think that may be an interesting way to look at things. Is like, you know what? If you've ever seen the 300 or any sort of classic historical battles, like going out on a field of battle in a phalanx formation, we don't do that anymore. So why are protests similar? Like, okay, everybody, we have to gather in one central location to make us easy targets. That's dumb. So we get on the news, but yeah, I think we have to rethink that in the future to keep everybody safe. You want to protest, you want to exercise your First Amendment rights. I'm all for that. Totally got it. Blocking freeways, blocking traffic, breaking windows and stuff, that's going in the wrong direction in my opinion. So the group that's apparently doing the operational coordination of things like the No Kings event is called 50501. And I believe the website for this particular thing was nokings.org. So they're listed as one of the partners. So I don't know who actually directed this or whatever, but there are people that are driving the logistics of coordination and communication. So there is some infrastructure in place to distribute protests in localities, to not just, everybody show up here. It could be, hey, here are 100 different street corners or parking lots or places where you can gather. You won't cause trouble, but you will be visible. Foot traffic, car traffic, but you won't be blocking traffic. You won't place yourselves in danger. Any vandalism you would report to, call this number. So I think filtering out the bad actors should be high on the list to keep the people that are not bad actors from being swept up. So just my opinion. My coffee is no longer hot. That's a bummer. So speaking of weekends, happy 250th birthday to the U.S. Army. The parade was not really befitting the celebration, in my opinion, but politics has that effect on things. This was not military, the paramilitary organization, Air Force Junior ROTC in high school. I was a member of that organization for all 4 years. I know for a fact that drill and ceremonies, including participating in parades, which I did back then, is easy. It is something every soldier in the parade, with the Army personnel in this case, could have brought back from their boot camp and early training days. It's not, once you know how to march in a formation, it's a piece of cake. But if you saw any videos, or if you happen to have been in Washington, D.C. on Saturday evening, it looked like, now I will say, I don't think people have pointed this out, there is a specific case where a military formation explicitly does not march in step, and it's when you're crossing a bridge. Because when you cross a bridge and you're marching in step, you have the opportunity of hitting the resonant frequency of the bridge. So if everybody's feet are striking the ground at the same time, you're directing that force in unison into the bridge, and you could set up a standing wave, or you could otherwise, the bridge could start moving around. True story. So explicitly, when you're crossing a bridge, you do not march in step. Otherwise, if you're in a military formation and you are in a parade, you're supposed to, show some decorum, show some pride, and you march in step, and it looks cool. It indicates some unity. That's the whole reason for drill and ceremonies, aside from the look. But it's, you learn how to operate as a unit, as a team. So, and again, it's totally easy. It's day one kind of stuff. So if you saw any of the videos, you know that the troops were basically sauntering, schlepping in some cases. It didn't look great. And I think the parade was not a great idea. But if you're going to have a parade, I think I figure it's a silent protest. I guess they must have been saying, you know what, I can't say anything because you're not supposed to pipe up with your political viewpoints. You're not allowed to protest. Certainly not allowed to protest in uniform. So proactive and obvious protesting, not good. So I'm like, that, and I've seen other people saying this, that must have been either a silent protest or horrible. So I'm going to lean towards that first option, because I think if you read through history, if you read any accounts by like German soldiers from World War II, the take home they always say, like universally across all of these stories, all these anecdotes, is they were amazed at how professional American soldiers were. Soldiers from the United States Army, Army Air Corps, etc. I mean, they were probably not encountering Navy so much. Marines, if they encountered them, they would always say that they're so skilled and professional and all this. So that's the sort of stuff that you would see in a parade if they were proud to be there. So I'm kind of wondering. It was poorly attended, though, which led to a substantial rant by the Orange Man on his Truth Social platform. That's a given at this point. So I'm not even going to touch on some of the other stuff that went on during the week. I mean, wars have been started. Senators have been handcuffed. Who knows what else is going on. But I will say, as we come to the end of this episode of Coffee Solo, as my birthday is coming up on Saturday. That's right, the 21st of June. I'll be 21 again for whichever time. There will be no parades for me as far as I know, but I suspect there will be a large gathering of people, maybe gatherings, perhaps here in Vegas, maybe elsewhere, and I will claim some of that in my own honor. So thank you in advance for people who gather unknowingly to celebrate my birthday. I will try to look happier than our president did for his. I need to get my driver's license renewed, so that's probably the big thing to deal with this week. I don't know if I have to bring a birth certificate or other proof of whatever they're looking for. I have a real ID, so I'm assuming that it's still valid and would act as proof that I have a valid driver's license. So I'm hoping to be able to renew it. Sadly, the motor vehicle department or whatever I don't know if they call it MVD or DMV here, I can't remember, does not provide much information as far as what to do to renew. So I got to figure that out during the week. Probably going to call, see if I can make an appointment. That's my big government interaction for the week. I'm hoping it goes well. In the meantime, I'm looking for board members for my nonprofit. I have projects to work on. I have things to try to complete. I have a leg to continue recovering. I have a noisy neighbor. I got it all. Never a dull moment. And that is what I hope to impart to you, my listener. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'm going to try to keep them varied. I can't say anything about interesting. That's going to be hit or miss. Probably a lot of misses, but we'll see what happens. So thank you for listening, and thank you for telling other people, I suppose. Thank you for listening to the other episodes of the various programs that I publish each week. If you don't know where they are, you can visit my buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo profile page. The Ko-fi.com profile page doesn't appear to be as, I don't know. I got to explore that more, but I do use the buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo profile page as a link tree of sorts. So it's kind of a catch-all, links to all of my various audio programs and favorite coffee beans and all that stuff. So you can go there, you can find other stuff. I'll continue to try to be creative about how to promote my efforts, whether it's audio program production or other even more interesting things. So there you go. You can hear the full effect of my coffee consumption on my voice. I gotta do the nasal fresh in the morning and see if that will undo some of this. But that's it. All right. Thank you for listening. Take care.